Hi, Alan Stratton from Woodturn. Recently had some neighbors moved. They had been our neighbors for 15 or 16 years. As they cleared out their crawl space under the house, they found some oak left over from when they had remodeled their house. They didn't want to take it with them, so they gave it to me. I made for them an oak bowl. This is segmented, both open and closed segmented. I wanted to do it so that they have something to remember their years in that home and in our neighborhood. So today, let's make a mixed, open and closed, segmented oak bowl.
The first order of business is to cut the segments for 12 segments per ring. My chop saw is set to 15 degrees and have some clamps to hold the segment width stop and to wedge the wood in place. My focus is to position the wood correctly and securely against the stop and keep my hands out of the path of the saw blade. Before I make a cut, my left hand is holding a small stick that holds the segment while the segment is cut, not my hand or fingers. I saw segments for one ring at a time, then start to glue them together. Recently, I've not been pleased with my results gluing half rings at once. It seemed that I could not pull all the joints together evenly. So in this project, I'm gluing two segments together first and with a clamp across the points to get the joint tight. The glue dries while I'm cutting the next set of segments. Then I glue two pairs of segments together into a set of 4, but leaving the rest of this ring alone. Gluing them now would prevent making half rings and being able to true up the half rings on the sander. For clamps, sometimes I'm stretching multiple rubber bands, making sure most of the pressure is around the outer convex curve of the segments. Otherwise, the set would collapse. Now I'll glue two sets of 4 and the two sets of 2 segments into half rings using a band clamp. Normally, a couple of nails separate the two halves and enable the clamp to close up the joints even though the half rings are not perfect. On this set, the joints were pretty close, so I did not use the nails. Finally, I true up the half rings on the sander and glue them together. With the rings completed, it's time to glue the rings together. I sanded one face of all rings, then thickness sanded all except the top and the bottom. Those I can handle easily in the final turning place process. For each closed segment ring, I'm centering and hot melting it to a faceplate. This then goes into the tailstock mounted to a reverse chucking adapter. The lathe provides the clamping pressure. The open segment ring is glued very differently. I'm using a template to hold the segments in position while my wife and I paint white glue on the segments. Then using Lloyd Johnson's stomper, I'm bringing the rest of the bowl down from above. Then a pile of weights provides pressure. For the top rings, I'll paint the glue on the open segments that are now on the bowl. Then paint a light coat on the solid top ring, which is being held in a Longworth chuck. Again, the bowl comes down from the top, and a pile of weights provides pressure. Finally, it's time to turn the bowl. For solid bowls, I just mount the chunk of wood and see what emerges from the shavings. Segmented bowls require a lot more upfront planning than solid wood bowls. However, there's still an excitement when the bowl emerges from the rough rings. Now I'm roughing out the inside to get rid of the ledges of the rings. This requires careful gouge positioning because initially there's no way to ride a bevel. The open segment rings also require a gentle hand. A too aggressive cut may break the segments instead of cutting them. A break may go where I don't want it to go. In addition, the open space between segments disrupts riding a bevel. With the interior roughed, I'm switching to the exterior to rough it out and get it close to final shape. Here's where another difference shows up between segmented and greenwood turning. Here the shavings are coming off dry and hot. For greenwood, they'd be wet and cool. But for greenwood, I'd have to clean up a lot more wood and have a bigger pile of shavings on the floor under my lathe. With this dry wood, I don't worry about my lathe rusting from the wetness. Now I'll switch back to the interior to refine the walls now to match the outside profile. I'm having to be very careful with the transition from solid to open and to solid again. With the missing wood, it's easy to cut too much away from the open segments. I'll finish up with a heavy bowl scraper. The bottom goes well with the scraper flat on the tool rest. However, now that the walls are thin, the upper sides go better with the scraper tipped on its corner to reduce the cutting surface. A final touchy-feely time confirms the shape and wall thickness. I trust my fingers more than a caliper on this size of bowl. Then I'll part off the bowl from the wood faceplate before reverse mounting the bowl onto my homemade coal jaws to finish turning the bottom. The slow speed requires a sharp gouge, then a skew as a scraper. Since I have a small plug in the bottom center, it's difficult to get a smooth transition as the grain direction changes. I'll put a small V-cut on the edge of the plug to turn this issue into a feature. Then a little sanding and I'm ready to finish this oak bowl with walnut oil. Now I have a very nice bowl to express my appreciation for my good former neighbors. It's a combination of open and closed segmented turning. The plus is that it is made with their wood, oak, left over from remodeling their house. They were great friends as well as neighbors. Please click the like button on this video and subscribe to both my website and YouTube channel. Always wear your face shield. Sorry, but you're not invincible. Until next time, this is Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns.